Nick Giopo?
Jopo.
Heck yeah, dude.
Italian. You're pretty close, though. That's the closest maybe anyone's ever been without asking.
Wow. Welcome in.
Thank you.
Dude, it's freaking fired up Sunday over here at the office. What have you got going on lately in your life? What have you been doing?
A lot.
We're going to talk about the present. That's what we're going to talk about right now. What are you doing on a daily? You wake up, it's Monday morning, and you know you got to do A, B, and C, maybe even D to have success in the day. What does that look like?
You know, A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, what is it?
The health is everything for me. Health is my top priority over everything, and we'll dive into that a little more later, I'm sure. But
maybe
for me, when I think A is health. What do I need to do to maintain moving in a healthy trajectory, maintain longevity of health so I can continue to show up for my B, C, and D things, which might be my W-2 job or my business that I just created or my partnership or my friendships or my family. But health is always top priority for me. So it's wake up, go for a walk, sunshine in the eyes, sunshine on the skin. First thing in the morning, healthy, nutritious breakfast, lots of fruit in the morning. Go straight into moving the body, straight into fueling myself with things that are going to help me with those other things throughout the day. And then I'm right into B, C, and D. But A is health always.
Yeah, that's good. That's the foundation, huh?
The foundation.
Yeah, is there anything else that's foundational for you aside from health?
Is there anything else foundational to me besides from health?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What else?
Relationships, my family, of course, my friendships, my direction, the things that I'm working towards, legacy, having legacy, the idea of legacy is very foundational for me. Absolutely.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, clearly stated. Very confident. Strongly stated. You put some thought into this.
A lot of thought. I wasn't always like this, Greg. And the reason why I'm able to look at you and come on a podcast and tell you a story or come on and tell you these are the things that I do every day with confidence and you know that I'm telling you the truth is because I wasn't always this guy.
Right.
And it's because for so much of my life up until I was 23 or 24 years old, I was just this fat fuck loser who just woke up and went and worked some job that sucked the soul out of me, was in a relationship with a woman who I didn't love. Everything was moving in the wrong direction, had no solid friendships, was living in a city that I didn't want to live in, and got myself to such a breaking point where I had to drop everything, and completely reinvent myself. So I'm 5 years into this reinvention, and coming on a podcast like this is so interesting because there was a point in my life where I would have thought there's just no fucking world where I would ever be able to come on and speak with confidence in front of anybody. And it almost feels like a manifestation. Are you big on manifesting?
Yeah.
You're a pretty spiritual person?
Yeah, big time. Oh, yeah.
It feels like a manifestation. Yeah. And I've done so much looking in the mirror, and this started 5 or 6 years ago. I did so much looking in the mirror and so much envisioning what I wanted my life to be like. And this is still something that I do that's very foundational for me now, to go back to your original question. So much looking in the mirror and imagining, what do I want this day to look like? What do I want my life to look like in 5 or 10 years from now? And this feels like a memory to me. This conversation with you feels like a memory to me. My health and my body and the way that I speak feels like a memory to me, though it's in the present. I've already lived a lot of these things in my mind. So it's very, very foundational for me to do a lot of mirror work, a lot of speaking myself into the future, and a lot of envisioning the future so much that it feels like I've already lived it.
Dude.
And that took a long time to get there.
Sure. When you say long time, how long?
Years, brother. And it's a daily practice.
Years?
Years.
How many years?
At least 4.
4 years of nonstop challenging work.
Nonstop challenging work.
So the 9 to 5, what's that look like?
The 9 to 5?
The 9 to 5.
Oh, I'd call it 9 to 5. Who works a 9 to 5, Greg? We're all 8 to 5. No one's starting work at 9.
You're right.
They're 8 to 5s.
Well, I apologize.
Outdated.
I really screwed that up.
Really screwed that one up. The 8 to 5 is
wow.
I work in facial recognition software.
Okay.
So I help sell software to any government entities across the whole state of Texas to help them solve really complex investigations, things like Amber Alerts, things like show me the picture of Greg when he walked in front of this office because he got fired and he's not allowed to be here anymore. We don't know what time he was here. We want to jump straight into where he was.
Yeah.
So my day-to-day is a lot of traveling down to El Paso, the Valley, San Antonio.
Driving?
All over Austin. Oh, I fly, man.
Flying?
I fly. Put it on the company card. Let me get those points racked up. Go out on a free vacation with those Chase Sapphire preferred points. That's what it's all about, man. If you've got a W-2 job, Utilize your card as much as you can so you can take those points and get the free travel.
Dude, well said. You remind me of my other buddy. Yeah, he's doing that.
Oh, you got to
He's
introduce
getting the points.
Who's your other buddy?
His name's Josh Tech. His name's Josh Tech. He helped launch Tesla cars. Yeah. He's like way up there. He was way up there in Tesla. Now he's like a consultant for another company.
Oh, I'm sure he's got more than enough credit card points to travel anywhere in the world, Greg.
Yeah, and just cash too, I think.
I bet.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's fun. You're traveling. You're hopping around. You got any pets?
No pets.
No. And you're living next to one of the most poppin' local music venues in Austin. Red River Street's known for the local music, where 6th Street is known for the influx people.
Absolutely.
Did you know that? Did you hear that?
I did. I've heard that.
Yeah. So you're right there by Mohawk, and you're hearing the raging jams every night.
Every night.
And what had you make that decision? We got to talk about this. This is prevalent in your life because it's the second time I've seen you, and the second time we've talked about this, so it's prevalent still. What had you choose that location?
I loved the apartment.
Oh.
Loved the apartment. The interior is absolutely beautiful. Massive apartment.
Yeah.
That was the initial appeal. I've always been someone that has loved living in the environment of other people. I want to live in the noise. I want to be going on a walk and seeing people in the morning. And until I get to the point where I'm married and have a family, I really envision myself living around an influx of people, living around the
it's a
energy.
numbers game.
It's a
you find
numbers
that
game.
mate, you know, you got to get a lot of them. Yeah. But you got a mate, dude.
I've got a mate.
But you're not married yet, so that's going to probably be the time when you move.
We're not married yet.
Right.
No, it's only been a few months,
couple months. You're taking it easy.
We're working towards it, Greg.
Yeah, you better slow down. Right? Because I remember you talking about her last time. You like her.
I love her.
Love her.
I love her with all my heart. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that I've met my life partner.
Wow.
And that's a crazy thing to say, given that we've only known each other for a few months. And had someone else said this to me a few months ago about themselves, if the roles were reversed and you were on my podcast telling me that you met your life partner and you've been with her for a few months, I would be heavily questioning you, Greg.
Really?
And I'd be heavily asking you to consider slowing down. But I've never been so aligned with someone in terms of what we have been through, the ways that we've both experienced trauma and have worked through our trauma and learned through that, the ways that we've both recognized the issues in our family lineage and in our bloodline and in our family trees and have decided that we're going to be the people in our bloodlines that address those issues and don't pass them down to the younger generations. And that's the most important thing to me in partnership, and to be with a woman that has a similar mindset, but also sits in her femininity always. Not always, but is very feminine and just so supportive and so loving. And I've never been so excited for the future. People say, Greg, have you ever heard people say that? They say that with the right woman can empower you.
Yeah.
And I've never felt that. I've heard other people say that, and it's one thing to hear it, it's something else to truly feel it. I feel unstoppable. Completely unstoppable. So since I've met my woman 3 months ago, our 3-month anniversary was yesterday.
Yeah.
I started posting on social media. That was 5 years ago, I lost 110 pounds. And I never really shared that story online in a way that was, with the intention of helping other people. I've shared it with my, friends and family and such. And you ever have someone ask you a question that's just so like, duh, how did I not think of that?
Yeah.
And I'm a couple weeks into, hanging out with my now partner, and she goes, you should really consider sharing this story online. And it just hit me, like, why the hell am I not doing that? As soon as I started posting on Instagram and launched a podcast at the same time, it's been about a month and a half or so. I've grown from 0 followers on Instagram, 300 or 400 people that I knew from high school and college and, my friends here in Austin, to 75,000 followers on Instagram with 15 million accounts reached. We're now a top 50 podcast in weight loss in the world. And it's just, to me, this is just the complete alignment of all of the work that I've done on myself. Mm-hmm. And it's the world telling me and validating me in the actions that I've taken and the actions that I'm taking now in the direction of me wanting to be a business person outside of my W-2, but also in validating that I'm in the right partnership. And to me, it's the energy of our relationship that is pushing this content out into the world. And in return, I've got all of these millions of people looking at the content that I'm putting out that is refeeding my energy, and I'm putting it right back out there. And just the amount of growth potential and the amount of impact that I've been having in such a short amount of time, the amount of positive messages that I've received across these social media platforms about how people relate so much to this idea of losing weight and feeling better and feeling stuck and feeling alone in their journey. And to be really vulnerable online about the darkest points of my life when I felt the most depressed and the most fat, the most fucked up, the most pointless, or the most useless, and just like I was going nowhere. You go online and talk about that stuff. Other people reach out, and it's healing for me. In a lot of ways, I would have said that I've already healed all of this stuff. I've already healed my inner fat guy. I've already healed my inner lonely guy that's not worth a damn. But actually going online and sharing this content, and then having other people reach out to me and say, God, man, I never thought about it in that way. I never thought about it in that way. This helps me change my mindset. It's so healing to me because I forgot how fucked up things actually were. It's been so long that I forgot.
It's been so long, but not that long.
Not that long. Yeah, 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
But it's easy to forget until you actually go back into that darkness and close your eyes and remember and put it into content. And then you start hearing other people's stories about how they're relating, and you go, fuck, I've been there, brother. We were in the same spot. And someone told me that if you want something for your life, the easiest and quickest way to get it is to give it to someone else. And all that I want to do is keep healing all of these horrible things that I put myself through when I was younger. And that's how I'm going to continue moving forward. And I've found that in giving healing messages to other people and in giving guidance and support to other people that are helping them through the things that I worked through on my own without any help, it is healing me. And that has been just one of the most great fucking realizations of my entire life.
Yeah, it's completing the circle.
Totally completing the circle, yeah.
Yeah, the student's becoming the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the only way you get that wisdom is through the hard work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you put in a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work.
Right? Yeah, and now you have this energy, this wisdom, this knowledge that you feel compelled to give back to others. Is that right?
Yeah, it doesn't even feel like an option.
Yeah.
It feels like the world wants me to.
Yeah.
I could say no, but I can't see a world where I say no. I don't see any other direction than besides going absolutely all in on this story of what it takes to overcome your body and how overcoming your body helps you in your B, C, and D things that you're focusing on throughout the day.
So girlfriend, family is important to you. You got the W-2, podcast, social media. What else you got going on in your life right now?
The gym. You've seen me in the gym before.
In the gym.
You've seen me in the gym trying to build some muscle.
Yeah.
That's been an interesting journey because, my whole life I was so up and down with weight. Starting as an 18-year-old, I gained and lost 50 pounds every year until I was 23 or 24 years old of fat, right? And had so little muscle mass and such an underdeveloped frame. I'd never even done a push-up before or ran a mile in my entire life until I was 23 or 24. And after losing this weight and keeping it off, there's no world anymore where I'm ever going to gain weight back. So when you lose a bunch of weight, you go through this fear of like, everyone gains weight back after they lose it, right? I put so much space between who I am now and who I was before that's no longer a fear. So over the last few years, I've transitioned into what am I going to do for the longevity of my health? And it's really going to be building some muscle, building stronger core, stronger glutes, stronger upper back to stand up straighter as a 90-year-old and a 100-year-old and a 110-year-old. So right now I'm in the gym a lot doing lots of body weight shit, hundreds of push-ups, hundreds of pull-ups. About a month ago, started eating a lot more food, so I'm intentionally gaining weight for the first time, which is kind of a mind fuck. I've never done that before, but that's the next evolution of what I'm working on right now, and what I ultimately want to share online and help other people do once I have more success in that area.
I heard somebody say the other day, if you're cutting, lift like you're bodybuilding, but eat like you're cutting to get really shredded. Do you do that? Do you lift like you're bodybuilding, or is it mostly body weight? Because body weight's going to get you something.
Right.
Is it going to get you the muscle mass?
This is a very controversial topic, and similar to food, it seems that different things work for different people.
Dude,
different things just work for different people. There are people that are absolutely fucking jacked that only do squats, push-ups, and pull-ups, and that's it. And they just throw weighted vests on and do hundreds of reps at a time.
Yeah.
And when you see these people there's 80, 90-year-old men that are shredded and have 8-pack abs, and all they do are just wake up and do a couple hundred push-ups and then walk throughout the day, keep moving, do some chin-ups, and they're engaging their muscles every day. They're hitting every muscle group. What I found for myself is when it comes to weight, nutrition is the most important thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to body fat percentage and the pounds on the scale, it's a lot of nutrition. When it comes to building muscle, for me, it's about volume and not getting injured in range of motion and time under tension. So I've got a torn rotator cuff that I've apparently had forever, probably from baseball as a high schooler. I mean, I've got a right hip flexor impingement that I'm dealing with. So
a femoral acetabular impingement.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. You know much about those?
Well, I had one.
Yeah, how'd you get rid of it?
They shaved it.
What? Really? They went in and did it?
Yeah. In the Navy. It's whack. Don't do it, dude.
I really don't want to do that. How did you recover?
Does it hurt you?
It hurts me with...
When you sprint?
No, I'm a distance runner.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not much of a sprinter.
When I sprinted, I lift my leg high enough. Mm-hmm. It caused so much inflation across my lower abdomen. It was like someone took a knife and cut me. I couldn't stand up on my own.
Yeah, that's how it is for me. Once I get to about 90 degrees right there on the hip, so any kind of deep squat or, stair steppers, those sorts of things really... They light that hip up pretty bad. Yeah, they do. So, but I don't have pain with body weight stuff.
Okay.
So since I've been gaining weight about a month ago, I've transitioned from trying to push heavy weight in the gym and doing some ego lifting shit and trying to get a cool pump to look good in the mirror to just no longer touching any weights and just doing hundreds of push-ups. And I've noticed in 4 weeks, I've gained about 7 pounds in 4 weeks. I feel phenomenal, man, and I've filled out my frame a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
it's because I could
tell from when I saw you last time.
It was about a month ago, right?
Yeah, yep.
I appreciate that, man. For me, it's just been, and this will develop, right? This takes
time.
It takes time. This is part
of
the issue, Greg, with the health and fitness industry is people want to sell you on a specific plan. Here's the plan to go on to build muscle. Here's the plan to go on to the diet to go on to lose fat forever. And that's just not how it is. What people don't focus on is the evolution, right? If you're fat as fuck and you want to lose weight, try a diet and see how it works. And allow yourself to fail, lose weight, and then transition. Like, allow your diet to go from, here's how I look at it, right? If you have a really horrible diet, you're eating like dog shit McDonald's every day, just mindless, aimless. Yeah. Or you're not going to the gym at all. You're just sitting on the couch. You're just mindless, aimless with the direction of building muscle. You can't have a perfect workout routine. You can't go start lifting like a bodybuilder. You can't start dieting like an athlete or having some perfect diet. You got to hit all of the stages between shit and perfect, if perfect even exists. The way that I've found to have any sustainability in anything related to health and fitness is to go from absolute dog shit to a little less dog shit to a little better to now I'm kind of good. To now I'm a little better than good. To now that's just actually like pretty great. Now I'm kind of dialed in on my workout routine and my fitness to getting as close to perfect as you can. Again, if that even exists, I'm not there yet, right? The problem is that we want to go straight to, and I find myself doing this still, what's the best workout plan for me? Do I go in the gym and lift heavy for 5 days a week?
Dude, yeah.
Or, like, is that sustainable? Yeah, it is, but it's hard to do. And it's more sustainable for me to go, man, what can I do to see some progress right now? Progress right now. What can I do this week that's 5% better than last week?
Yeah.
And for me right now, it's just doing a bunch of push-ups and bodyweight shit.
Yeah, you got to be very conscious of your body. You got to be hyper-focused on and looking on how it responds to what you're doing. And also having the awareness of what the awareness and the gumption to go ahead and do the different types of programs or activities or what have you that there are. There's so many different things. Like for me personally, when I do boxing classes and when I lift high reps, like let's say, for example, 6 sets of 12 for one exercise, that's when I'm like shredded wheat, dude. Those two things, boxing and then high reps, I'm like freaking the most lean and ripped ever. Other stuff just doesn't do it for me. Mm-hmm. Running long distance never gets me leaned out, dude. It never does. So it's fascinating to see.
Have you done much distance running?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find that running distances, what does running distance do to your mind?
So it helps with everything in life as far as being gritty. That's what it does for my mind. Done some 50-mile bike rides up in the mountains in New York, so it's not an average 50 miles. Dude, it's like every pump is like you're doing a back squat where you're cranking that freaking to muscle up. That kind of thing, yeah, it's like I can have patience through anything after stuff like that. What about you?
Yeah, I've done, I relate to what you're saying a lot. I've always found running to be for the mind more than for the body. And to bring it a little bit back to my journey of losing weight,
Please, yeah.
when I lost weight for the last time, it was 5 years ago after gaining and losing weight my whole life.
Yep.
And lost this weight, hit this weight loss goal like I did every year before. And 2 weeks into hitting this weight loss goal, I started gaining weight back again. Just like I had every other year, right? You hit the goal and you get off on a cool before and after picture and you're like, let's go celebrate. And you're just right back to the way things were before you ever had the goal.
Celebrate
my achievement. Let's go out and get drunk. Let's go out and start eating Domino's pizza and getting Red Robin delivered on DoorDash again.
We're going to talk about celebrating. Let's continue on. We're going to talk about celebrating in a second. Yeah.
Right. And you know, I'm 2 weeks in, I started gaining the weight back, and I'm sitting there looking in the mirror going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I've just come from this family of people that have never prioritized their health, that have always struggled with addiction. And I'm right back to I just hit this goal. Everyone's like, oh my God, you must feel so good. And I'm just gaining the weight back again, preparing to lose it again next year, right? And I'm scrolling on Instagram, hopeless, smoking weed, drinking beer as a 23-year-old or 24-year-old 5 years ago. And I come across something about this guy named David Goggins, who everyone knows who David Goggins is now.
Stay hard.
Stay hard. I almost got Stay Hard tattooed on my arm. I'm so glad that I didn't get that tattooed on my arm. Yeah, that would have been some commitment, but maybe would have been taken the wrong way. Now, as an adult, I read this book about David Goggins called Can't Hurt Me, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, this guy loses a bunch of weight and runs 100-mile races.
He was a big dude.
He was a big dude.
Yeah.
And I read that book, and I'm like, yeah, that story is total horseshit. And I just closed the book. I was like, what a waste of my time. And I was such a hater.
You really said that.
Oh, I
That's fast.
I was like, this is a horseshit story. This didn't happen. And I went to bed, and I'm laying there in bed going, what if any of this story is true? If any of this story is true and I could be 1% of what this guy has done, then I'll find a way to keep this weight off and feel good forever, right? And I started researching everything that he had done. And this was a really pivotal moment in my life because I had never been inspired by anyone one time ever until I researched and validated that what David Goggins talked about in this book actually happened. And I allowed myself to feel that inspiration, and I felt so much of his story in myself, and I resonated with a lot that he had gone through as a child and a lot that he had put himself through physically, through obesity and through bad habits. And I wanted to experience, he talked about the finish line of marathons and longer distances. And this is when I really started manifesting, and I would close my eyes and picture, what would that feel like to cross a finish line and throw my arms out? Having been so fat, to throw my arms out and just throw my middle fingers up and say, fuck everyone that ever thought I was fat. And I just felt so much of that, like, oh, I can turn that negativity into something that can be really positive for me, right?
Energy redirection.
And I signed up to run a half marathon. I'd never ran a mile, Greg, one time in my entire life. And I signed up to run a half marathon. I had like 6 weeks to do it. And I was chubby. I wasn't fat, but I was like skinny fat, right? I was 190. I've never done a push-up. And I just ran on a treadmill every day.
Yeah.
And was breaking down, like nipples bleeding from chafing. Just horrible. I had no idea what I was doing.
It's a long track.
It's a long track. And I went out and I ran this half marathon. First time ever running outside ever was a half marathon. Never ran on pavement for one block. I was 24. And I broke my foot. I stress fractured my foot mile 10 of this race. Still finished. One of the proudest moments of my entire life.
Hell yeah. Stay hard.
Yeah, stay hard, right? So I come out of this half marathon in a boot. Yeah. In a boot. And I'm like channeling, like, who's going to carry the boats during this run? And this was before David Goggins was as popular as he is. So people didn't get that reference 5 years ago. I ran this half marathon and I get in this boot and I'm like, I have a new addiction now. Food is no longer my addiction. Now it's distance running. So I went out, I got out of the boot, and the next year I ran maybe 10 half marathons. The year after that, I ran 4 or 5 full marathons. Then I ran an ultra marathon 2 years ago for the first time. And this is another really pivotal moment. December of 2022, I'm signed. I had just moved to Austin a few months previous. Really, running was a big reason why I moved here. Beautiful trails, great weather. I like being in the humidity. That's my favorite environment to run in. And we're good running community here. lots of very active people that make you want to get outside and do shit.
It's amazing.
Right?
Dude, I love it.
It's amazing.
Trail around the lake.
Oh my God, it's the best 10-mile loop ever.
Best
ever. And you're shaded from the sun, so you
see
get
your
the humidity.
Sometimes you're like, what up? Yeah.
And you see all the fit, beautiful people out, and you're like, these are my people.
Yeah.
These are my people.
Yeah.
I signed up to run a 50-mile race December of 2022. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to be the White Goggins. I'm the White Goggins, right? And it was just so funny to say. And I'm 2 weeks out from this race. Greg, I'm 2 weeks out from this race. And I go into my doctor. I'd never seen a doctor in Austin. I didn't have a primary care physician. So it's my first time seeing someone. My doctor goes, you're running all these races. We should check on your heart just to make sure everything's fine. I go, yeah. So I get an EKG where they plug you up with all the stickers, right? And it's a 10-second scan.
Yeah.
My doctor goes, has anyone ever told you you have this heart disease called Wolff-Parkinson's-White syndrome? And I go, no, but that sounds like horse shit because I'm 27 and I've been running hundreds of miles, man. I'm running 50 miles a week and I've never had any heart problems. So I just kind of disregarded it. He's like, no, you need to see a cardiologist. I went and saw 2 cardiologists and they confirmed that I had this heart issue that, if unaddressed, had exercise-induced sudden cardiac arrest. It was an electrical issue where the 2 different chambers in my heart beat slightly out of sync. And they concluded that I had to get heart surgery. So I'm a week and a half out from this 50-mile race being told that I need to get a heart surgery. The very pivotal moment in my life because I'm like, man, dude, this is the story. This is this, like, I'm in the story right now of training to run these 100-mile plus races, and I'm going to cross the finish line and have this picture of me fat next to this picture of me with my arms out. I'm going to get this medal and put it up on the fireplace, and my kids and my grandkids are going to, that's the story that changes the lineage of my family from fat to 100-mile distance runner. How many people in the world have ever done that? That's what I'm thinking at this time, right? And this heart surgery, now I got to get heart surgery. So I got a 6-7 week waiting list to go do heart surgery, where they go up through your groin and they cauterize a piece of electrical heart tissue. And that was about a year ago, last February, that I got that surgery. And that changed a lot for me. It changed a lot for me. And it changed my short-term direction. It made me stop running, and it made me start focusing on other things. It made me start focusing on, how am I going to make more money? Where am I going to put my money? How might I start my own business? How might I start now posting on social media? So I've moved these addictions, right? I went from food to booze to running to now being a businessman. And I've always had an addictive personality, but there's a very pivotal moment in my life when I got diagnosed with that heart disease that is now 100% cured. You want to know the craziest thing, Greg, to bring this back to my girl? 20,000 worldwide cases per year. Now, I used to not believe in this kind of shit. I tell her, when I met her, we're talking about, it's our first or second date, we're talking about how I got this heart surgery. She's like, what did you get? What happened? I was like, oh, this thing called Wolff-Parkinson's-White syndrome. She goes, I had the same thing. 20,000 worldwide cases per year, and her and I were 2 of them. What are the odds of that? Tell me that I didn't meet my soulmate, Greg. Chills, brother. What do you think?
Dude, that's freaking nuts.
Nuts.
20,000. That's like very, 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 very small.
Very few.
It doesn't get much smaller than that.
It doesn't get much smaller.
You're having universal alignment.
In everything.
Yeah.
In everything. And
yes.
And there's always been something so wrong. When you go back to like dark points in your life and you're like, there's something so wrong that needs to be changed. And the process of changing this is just brutal and I don't like it. And this is the first time in my life, in this last 6 months or so, where everything is so aligned in terms of the direction that I'm going that there's no question in my mind. There's no question in my mind who I'm going to be in 5 or 10 years. Because I feel that I am that person right now. I feel that I am rich as fuck right now. The world just hasn't paid me. I feel that. And when I think that, when I channel that, when I talk to you about that, I speak different. My tonality's changing when I get into this. I'm manifesting right now in my mind. How am I going to move when I'm super rich? How am I going to move when the world pays me for all this work that I'm doing on myself? That's how I'm existing, and it's so easy. It's not so easy. It's easier to see that when everything is in alignment, when I've got my partner. So instead of envisioning my future children and my future wife as these, people that I can't see, now it's like, now I actually see her. Like, she's right here. And it helps with the vision. It helps with the manifestation. when I'm looking around going, God, what am I going to do to sustainably make money and eventually leave my W-2 job? Because my W-2 job is just, I'm just working for somebody else, right? How am I going to get to the point where I work for myself and have true freedom to go wherever I want in the world? Have true freedom to do whatever I want without being locationally stuck here? Have true freedom to make as much money as I want without being tied to a commission cap, right? And that all comes down to owning my own business. It's so, I can see the vision so much more when everything is aligned. And the alignment came from my relationship with my partner. The alignment came from the world validating the content that I'm posting online, and the opportunities that are coming out of that are endless opportunity to scale online. So yeah, to answer your question, everything is completely aligned right now. It's phenomenal, and it almost feels, it's hard to say because it feels braggy. It's hard to say because it feels like everything's going so good in my life.
I think that,
but it actually is.
That if there's anybody that you talk to about that, and they see it as braggy, you should probably remove those people.
100%.
From their life.
100%.
Yeah, you should be able to scream from the mountaintops, and your friends should be proud of you.
I agree. They say that true friends aren't the ones that you can bring negative stuff to anyone. True friends are the people that you can bring the positive things to, and they can sit there and celebrate with you. Yeah, those are much fewer.
Yeah,
much fewer of those.
So let's throw way back here. What year and month were you born?
December of 94.
December 94. What city?
Just outside of San Francisco, California, but I grew up in Spokane, Washington. So I'm a local. You're
Dublin, right?
Dublin?
Near Pleasanton?
No.
Wait, San Francisco?
Yeah, San Francisco.
Yeah, what was the town called?
San Rafael.
San Rafael?
Yeah, Marin County.
Okay, all right. I was talking to somebody the other day that was from Dublin, which is right outside San Francisco, too.
Not me.
Not you. So how long did you live there when you were born there?
Maybe 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years? What was it like? Did you have both your parents?
I was born, my parents were not together when I was born.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were they?
Well, they were together when I was procreated.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course.
My dad was a meth guy.
What do you mean a meth guy?
He partook in doing meth.
Who did the stuff?
Who did the meth.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact details, but my mom got pregnant and told him that if he wanted to be in my life, he'd have to clean his stuff up. So I was born, my dad wasn't there, and he came into my life, I'm not sure exactly when, but maybe when I was 2 or so.
He came into your life again?
Yeah, he came into my life.
Yeah.
And my parents got married when I was 6.
And then they got married?
And they got married, yeah. So I had my mom's last name, which is Jopo.
Jopo.
And then I got my dad's last name tacked on, which is Lynch. So I grew up as Jopo Lynch. I had 2 last names. My sister was born when I was 2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
And we all moved up to Washington State, Spokane, Washington, which is what I call my hometown. And I grew up in, my father was a pretty emotionally, physically abusive person, mostly to my mom. So
physical?
Yeah, so grew up seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. And
like what? What was he doing?
Oh, man, not things that I want to talk about here.
It's like that, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, just not.
Sorry to see that.
That's okay. And I appreciate you saying that. But grew up with not seeing a healthy relationship. My parents divorced when I was 10 or 11.
I asked that question to help put myself in the shoes of a kid that has to see something like that. It's like I'm trying to imagine that. You're in your house, or you want to be safe and comfortable, and you see the people that you love, and you're witnessing that. What did you think when you saw that? What went through your head?
I can't really remember.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of that time doesn't really seem like it happened because it was so long ago, and I just don't have a ton of conscious memory from that time in my life. One thing that I did have was and do have still, is a phenomenal mother. And in a lot of ways, my mom and my dad growing up, and my mom was the hustler that was working a job or finding ways to make money, buying and selling stuff on Craigslist, flipping things, buying houses and selling them when the market was up, and then buying cheaper houses and then selling when the market's up. My mom always found a way. My mom always found a way to put me and my little sister into the exact positions that we needed to be in.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to I am fortunate enough to have a great mom, but I was especially fortunate enough to have a great mom, though my father was not, or is not.
You and your sister.
Yeah.
How old is your sister? Younger or older?
She's 2.5 years younger.
Younger.
Yeah.
So you were the bigger brother.
Bigger brother.
And what's her name?
Her name is Peyton.
Peyton? Peyton. So you and Peyton were growing up together the whole time.
The whole time.
Right, with Mom?
Of course.
Yeah. And then or year 2, Pop came back in, but when he did, he was a little rocky, to say the least.
I don't know all the details there, Greg. I know that he did. He was always sober after that.
So he was sober, but
yeah, but he was rocky, and he was in my life from 2 to 14.
2 to
14. Yeah.
Where'd you go to school in Spokane?
I went to
elementary school.
Midway Elementary.
Midway?
Yeah.
What was it like going to elementary school? What was it like for you? What was your life like?
What was my life like in elementary school?
Yeah, if you were to encapsulate it.
I was a year younger than everybody else.
Okay.
In elementary school. My mom started me early.
Did your familial situation influence the way you acted in school at all?
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. I had
How did it make you act?
I was a really anxious kid.
Anxious?
I was an anxious kid. I had a lot of OCD tendencies.
Yeah.
A lot of
like what?
Like I would take a hangnail down to my knuckle.
What's a hangnail?
I would rip off a piece of my finger and pull it down to my hand.
Okay.
And so I had weird things like that where I was picky.
Yeah.
I'd flip a light switch on 25 times.
Take it.
Yeah, I had a lot of really weird habits that I outgrew at a young age, but had weird things like that where things seemed really concerning because they were, and because I didn't have a model healthy relationship, didn't have a male role model at all growing up in any ways, and didn't have anybody that was telling me how to act or being an example for me on how to act or how to work through the things that I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of anxious tendencies as a kid. And what that turned into for me was actually my first addiction ever, which was video games. And this really presented in...
How old are you?
7th grade. We moved from Washington to Indiana.
What school?
I have no idea.
You don't remember what middle school you went to?
No.
I went to LaGrange Middle School.
You've got this all. You remember everything.
Yeah, I do remember a lot.
Maybe Mooresville. It was a Christian school in Mooresville. Mooresville Christian Academy.
Mooresville Christian Academy.
Small little private school.
Mooresville
go. Christian Academy. Shout out MCA. Mooresville, Indiana.
I ask these questions on purpose because it helps you get back to that mental state of when you were there. So, 7th grade, what video game was it? What console?
PC.
PC, yep. Battlefield 1?
PC, Battlefield 1942. Yeah, this is old school. Anyone listening to this is so nerdy. I was an OG Battlefield player. And you know what video games gave me, Greg, was not just an escape from everything else going on in my life that was stressing me as a child.
Yeah.
And they let me hide from those things, but they also gave me the experience of being good at something. I'd never been good at anything before. So I was this out-of-shape kid that played sports but sucked, right?
Yeah.
Ride the bench on everything. Played 3 minutes per basketball game. Never batted in baseball. Was, would switch between right and left field depending on the hand of the batter. I was horrible at everything that I ever did. And when I started getting into video games, I go, okay, I'm playing a lot of hours, and I'm noticing that as a 7th and 8th grader, I'm kicking people's asses in a way that I've never dominated in anything before. And for me, that was the first time I ever realized, like, effort and hours and really trying and energy and believing that you're good at something make you good at something. And I just saw myself climb and climb and climb and climb. Now I'm a junior, senior in high school. Me and my mom and my sister moved back to Spokane and left my dad in Indiana. And I went 15 years and never talked to him. And I went back to Washington, which I consider my hometown for high school and for college. And I started gaming. It was my full-time job. I was gaming 40 hours a week. I had a year after college as a 23-year-old where I played 2,081 hours of video games, which is 1 hour more than a full-time job, and I had a full-time job. And for me, it was not a hobby. It was I am kicking people's asses, playing in tournaments, wanting to get more into the competitive scene, and it consumed my entire life.
What's your gamer tag?
Oh, I don't play. I quit cold turkey.
What was it?
It was Fusion with a Z 2025.
Yeah, Fusion. Watch out, everybody.
Watch out.
Coming at you.
Watch out.
So,
you know the crazy part of playing online like that?
What?
Is the relationships that you build with the people that you play with. So I was playing with a guy that was a pastor, a guy that worked at a gas station, a kid that was in 7th grade, And these are my team of 3 or 4 people where we've been playing together for years and I've never met them. And it's so interesting because those people were the closest people in my entire life through middle and high school. And also gave me the ability to speak.
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking all day long to these people.
Yeah.
And those people knew me in a way that nobody ever will. Ever will, because I knew I'd never meet them. So it was a totally different kind of relationship to talk to someone for hours every day.
Where are they
to never see? I have no idea. No, completely lost touch.
Would you want to find them?
And that would be really interesting.
How do you find them?
I've never actually thought of that, Greg. You got me thinking now. I'm sure I find them on Facebook.
Find them on Facebook.
Yeah.
Hit them up.
I don't even know their last names.
You're like, yo, it's me, Fusion.
I don't even know their last names. I don't even know what a couple of these guys look like. Okay. That's bizarre to think about, huh? Whoa. I haven't thought about that in a long time. That would be really interesting.
Yeah. That's a throwback.
Sounds like a reality TV show. Meet your old friends that you used to game with in high school that you never met.
That's really fun, man. Wow. That's a trip. No kidding. So you're in middle school, in the middle of the country. What was your weight like then?
I don't know what I weighed, but I was a fat kid.
You were?
Yeah.
At what point did you start eating a little too much? What age? 3, 4, 5?
Man, I have no idea.
6?
My family tells this story about how when I was on my first birthday, I ate an entire McDonald's cheeseburger. Yeah. So probably somewhere in there at a very young age.
And what was some of your favorite things to eat just a lot of at once?
Growing up or recently?
Growing up, middle school.
Oh, man, I would take pizza rolls.
Yeah, how many pizza rolls?
However many it takes to line the plate on the outside, like 12 to 15 of them.
Yeah.
Zap them in the microwave for 90 seconds. You take a bunch of chips, crumble them up and sprinkle them on the top. Take a fork and mix all that up, and you got a little pizza roll, sun chip, a Dorito salad. That was a go-to meal for me through middle school and high school.
Yeah.
Actually sounds pretty fucking good.
It's quick.
Efficient. Puts you in the mood to sit down and play some video games, Greg.
Yeah.
We've come a long way since then.
I used to do a whole sleeve of Oreos and a thing of milk. Yeah. Whole sleeve, bro.
You a big sugar guy now?
I only eat sugars on Sunday.
That's today?
One time.
What are you eating today?
Depends. If I skip it, I skip it. But it's usually, one dessert item once a week on Sunday. That's it.
Good for you. Because
I like to have boundaries. It's all about the principle of having self-boundaries. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, they're freaking good, man. So what was it like going to middle school and because your dad left you when you said, what, 14?
Yeah, 14.
So you're in middle school still.
No, it was after 8th grade.
Yeah, you're 14 after 8th grade. But so you're living with him during middle school,
right,
and you're playing video games at the time. What was your life like? How do you describe it, going to school every day and interact with other kids and your teachers?
I went to it was a Christian middle school.
Yeah.
And I grew up totally non-religiously. So I had a little bit of brainwashing going on in middle school. So much so where my second week of 7th grade, I got called up in front of the auditorium of like the 150, 200 kids in 7th and 8th grade and asked if I accept Christ as my savior as a 7th grader that had never been to church before.
You felt like a little bit of an imposter.
What do you think I'm going to say? Yeah, I do, yeah, with no idea what that even means, right? So there's a little bit of brainwashing going on from a young age with some of that stuff. And I'd go home and like, no one's talking about God in my household, right? And I'd go to school and we're praying every morning and we have a requirement to go to church every week and this kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is not really in alignment with how I've grown up at all. But again, this goes back to me having such a great mom. No one in my family had ever gone to college or had any formal education. And my mom really wanted me to have the best opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So she put me into a private school where, that feeds you into the environment of going and prioritizing education, which was important for me at that age.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Did you ever get in trouble in school?
No.
Middle school?
No.
Really?
Not really.
Ever acted out?
At one time in high school.
In high school you acted out one time?
I was a freshman in high school. I acted out one time.
What happened to you?
One time.
What'd you do?
I was walking by this kid in the hallway, and I had a problem with this kid. This kid used to make fun of me for being fat. I wonder if he would ever hear a podcast like this. It would be interesting to hear his side of the story. And I'm walking down the hallway, and this kid just bumps me. And I had a tennis racket in my hand. And I remember turning, I'm like, I pushed him. Kid falls down to the ground, hits his head. And I got called in and almost expelled from high school as a freshman. I almost got expelled from this private high school that I went to as a freshman.
You pushed the kid?
Pushed some kid and he got hurt, and his parents got called in. So I was,
something, yeah.
They were worried that I was this, scholarship kid in high school coming into, the tuition for my high school was $19,500 per year. I was a single mom household who we were on food stamps. We lived a good life, and I had most of what I wanted. I had my internet and my computer, which is what I really wanted, right? So I had nothing to complain about. But we weren't balling out by any means. And I was going to school with children of doctors and lawyers and successful business people and people that owned the newspaper company in Eastern Washington. That wasn't what my life was like when I went home. So I had a little bit of this hatred towards wealth. And this is where a lot of my judging people came from. I was telling you how when I read David Goggins' book, I was like, that's a fake story. That's bullshit. Yada, yada, yada. A lot of how I grew up was seeing these kids that were not necessarily phenomenal people, but had everything they ever wanted just given to them. They were driving. There were 36 kids in my graduating class in high school. One of them drove a Lotus, couple Hummers, couple Mercedes, as 16-year-olds, right? So I went to school with very uber wealthy people, and I'm the only high schooler taking the bus. So I take the bus with the middle schoolers all through high school. I didn't have a car. And I also, wasn't working. I was playing video games, so that's on me. But I grew up with really a skewed vision of wealth and a little bit of hatred towards people that had a lot of money, and that hatred came from envy and jealousy in a lot of ways from a young age, because that's not how I grew up. But I acted out, had a violent outburst as a freshman in high school. Just one. Yep, almost got expelled. Kid deserved it. But don't post that part.
You're going to get expelled again.
Right. Here we are 15 years later.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, I had one violent outburst.
How'd your mom handle that when you thwacked somebody? How'd she handle that?
Man, I don't remember.
Remember the conversation?
I don't remember.
Did you ever, so you going through middle school, it seemed okay, well, except for the father situation, you managed to scathe by without getting in trouble or anything like that. That's really good. High school, you had one little outburst. Your dad's gone at this point.
Right.
What was that like for you when your parents were splitting up?
I never thought about it. I was fully escaped not living in the real world at all outside of going to school. So I'd go to school and come home and literally sit down and play video games from the time I got off the bus to the time I went to bed, besides microwaving some pizza rolls sometimes. And I hid from those emotions forever. So there wasn't a lot of processing or how am I feeling going on. It was just complete hiding.
Yeah. Did the emotions ever come up later on in life?
Yeah, they did.
When was that?
They, first time being broken up with, college. I'm going through extreme emotions like that for the first time, not knowing to handle it and realizing that I don't have an example of how any man in my family's ever handled anything like this, right? And no one to talk to about it. That sort of situation, going through Father's Day in college was rough. And those were the times when that would come up the most. But it's something that I didn't really think about very much. It was just kind of like an unspoken, don't give it any mental energy kind of thing.
What happens when you think about it today?
It's interesting that we're talking about this because about 4 months ago, it's been 15 years since I've talked to my dad, and about 4 or 5 months ago, I had an urge to talk to him.
What's his name?
His name's Tim.
Tim.
Yeah, and I called him. We didn't have his number, but I know that he had a brother, so I got in touch with his brother, who put me in touch with him, and I called him. I said, "This is your son." And all that I know about him is when you type in his name online, you see, you see county jail records from recent years, and you see some violent things, and you see some resisting arrests, and just you see the shit's not going well, right?
Yeah.
But no social media, so I don't have any context as to anything. But I have this I'm 20. I'm going to be 29. Right. This was towards the end of a few months ago, and isn't it bizarre that my dad has never reached out to me? And I'm starting to think in this way. Isn't that kind of crazy? And I'm imagining, like, is he just sitting in this room wondering what the fuck his family's doing, or does he even know? And I got a little caught up in that. And for me, it feels like it started feeling. I was talking about healing earlier. It feels like this wound that I just never entirely addressed. And I want to put myself, and I am in a position, and putting myself in a position to be a great husband and a great spouse and a great father and a great grandfather and a great great-grandfather, right? And to do that, I want to heal this part of my life that has just been kind of swept under the rug and that my family will go years without ever talking about. And I reached out to him. I got his number. I can't believe he answered the phone. I didn't know, no idea how this was going to go. And he answered his phone. He's like, what? I was like, hi, this is your son, Nick. He just outburst crying for like an hour. Crying, totally fucked up. He's definitely intoxicated on something, right? I just full outburst. I've missed you so much. I've seen all these things that you've done. I've seen your sister and I've seen, XYZ. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't be a better dad. And I'm so sorry that, that I never reached out. And then kind of goes into the blame and but this happened and but all these things happened that made me like this. And it just became so clear to me that my dad never healed himself. My dad had a bad childhood, right? He grew up with an abusive parent, and his dad died when he was 14 or 15. And when we think about family lineage, to me, my dad died when I was 14 or 15 because that's the last time I ever talked to him. So he's telling me this story. I'm asking him, where did you come from? What's your childhood like? I have no context as to where I came from, right? And he's telling me I was 14, and he's, fucked up on the phone. My dad died and that was hard. And I wasn't a great kid. And I'm going, me neither, man. My dad died when I was 14 too. I'm like, we're just living the same story over and over and over again. And that can't be passed down. It can't be passed down. My dad didn't do the work that he had to do. I did the work that I had to do, and I am doing the work that I have to do that by reaching out to him and understanding and by healing myself and by healing addiction, which is something that my family's never addressed, right? So I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know where I came from. And it was hard. Really hard conversation. And here we are.
Where does he live?
In Indiana somewhere.
Indiana, yeah. How long was the conversation?
It was about an hour.
About an hour. He was sad.
It was sad. Yeah, it's tough to see. It's tough to see because, I always said that I wanted to be the father that my dad never was. Mm-hmm. And to me, reaching out and having that conversation, it became so clear to me that I'm already way more of a man than my dad ever would be. And that makes me feel really good. I've got a little bit of tears of joy coming into my mind right there, into my eyes right now. But man, is he fucked up. Is he fucked up? And of course I would love if there was nothing wrong with him. And in somewhere in the back of my mind, there was this part of me that thought, maybe I'm going to call him and he's just going to be like, son, I fucked up, but my life is great. And I'm so sorry that I never reached out because I was too much of a coward to ever reach out. And I was just hoping that you would call, and I'm so glad that you did. And here's how things are going for me. Here, how are things for you? And just have like an adult conversation. Yeah. And that just wasn't the experience. So.
Well, you gave it a shot.
We gave it a shot.
Yeah. You probably wouldn't be very happy with yourself if you didn't try.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? You put yourself in his position, has done a lot of horrible things, has made a lot of horrible decisions, has put my family and my mom in tough positions that my mom's had to work through and I've had to work through because of that. And that is how things were supposed to happen. Because if that didn't happen to me, if I didn't have a fucked up dad, maybe I wouldn't have been fat as fuck. Maybe I would have never experienced addiction the way that I did. And maybe I wouldn't have lost weight and gotten in shape and been sitting on the podcast with Greg Carlson right now. So it's easy to say, I wish that didn't happen. But man, I'm glad that things happened the way that they did. And I feel bad for the pain that was caused, but I wouldn't have anything have happened any different way.
Because you've got your health, yeah?
I got my health in order.
Yeah. Are you centered?
So centered.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, how centered do you say you are on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, 8.5.
Yeah?
8.5.
What would you change to make it a 10?
More grounding.
What kind? Earthing?
Earthing.
Earth grounding?
More physical grounding, more... You operate from a place of being hyper-focused or kind of being lacking focus, having too much energy or too little energy. For me, the happy place is right in the middle. It's in the spine. It's when I sit here and grab my balls and speak from my balls and from my spine as a man, right? Like that's the energy that would get me to 10 out of 10 sitting in that at all times. There's certain things that get me into that energy, but there's other things where you get a little bit distracted and you get a little bit of, I'm scrolling on my phone for 5 minutes. What the hell am I doing? That's not a very grounded place to be. So for me to get to a 10 out of 10, it would be more focus always around those things. And it's very good, but it could always be better.
Let's tap in a little bit about college.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
I went to Gonzaga University.
Gonzaga.
Spokane. Yeah. Bulldogs.
Spokane. You know, what's her name? Elizabeth Boykin? Boykin family?
No.
Okay.
Is she from Spokane?
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of a big town, right?
A couple 100,000. Yeah. Medium.
Yeah. When you were in college, what was your friend group like when you were there?
I was in Greek life in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a couple years as an RA for the free housing.
Yep.
And I did a couple years in Greek life.
You were still a man of size at that point.
That's an understatement.
Yeah?
I was fat as fuck.
How fat?
274.
274. 274, almost 300.
Yeah. I was so big that you would look at me and think, man, that guy's got to figure it out, or something bad's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
You would subconsciously think that. There'd be no way for you to not think it when you saw how just unhealthy and tired I looked, and my skin looked horrible, and I didn't sleep well. Bad sleep schedule, was on the computer all the time, was drinking very heavily, and all those things combined, yeah.
What were you drinking?
Oh, Kirkland Light was the go-to beer.
Yeah.
You have 48 packs of Kirkland Light for $23 from Costco. Discontinued now, so a little bit of a throwback. Kirkland
Light with some pizza rolls.
Some pizza rolls.
Chips.
Yeah. Some Panda Express delivered.
College
going. But college life, yeah. I was an RA for a couple years and transitioned into Greek life. Every summer, I would lose a bunch of weight, and I'd come into the school year as like a not fat guy, feeling really good. And then I would just gain the weight back when I'd get into the cafeteria and start eating mindlessly again. So during the summers, I'd go on the chicken and broccoli diet or whatever the thing was that summer, lose 50 pounds, come back, gain all the weight back. So from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year, I lived a very different life.
Yeah.
And felt very differently about myself and never found a way to sustain any of my own desire, passion, belief, direction, any of that kind of stuff when I was in college. But yeah, college was a lot of partying. It was a lot of just jerking around, not really doing anything.
Did you get any bad habits in college other than video games?
Yeah, I cheated on everything.
You did?
On everything. I never read one textbook in college. Never took one class seriously.
It was to save you time.
Save time, man.
So you can play more video games.
Yeah, I took a couple years off of gaming in college and wanted to have more of the party college experience. I never drank in high school, so I was like, I'm going to come into college and get a girlfriend and go drink and go party. And
were women in your life in college?
Yes. Yeah. Women were in my life in college.
And you were still a man of size. You still had women in your life.
Well, I'd be a man of appropriate size at the beginning of the school year.
Okay.
But through the comfort of relationship and the comfort of returning to bad habits, I would gain size back.
Okay. Would the women stay or leave at that point?
No, a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah, I mean, it's like college and whatever, right? Okay.
How'd you get this summer? And then you don't live near each other. What are you going to do?
Yeah. See you never. Have a nice life.
Yeah, see you in a few months. No, this wasn't like that. It was, I had a couple long-term relationships in college that lasted, multiple school years. And, ultimately, a really pivotal moment in my life was when I'd graduated. My girlfriend of maybe 2 or 3 years had graduated a year earlier than me. And she's living in Spokane, and I'm, in my last year of college or whatever. I graduate, live a year in Spokane. We're both living in Spokane in different households. And she goes, hey, I want to move to Portland, Oregon. And you got to think my life at this time, I'm 23. And I'm 270-something pounds. And I'm gaming 40 hours a week. And I'm working 40 or 50 hours a week. You got to imagine I wasn't a great partner. And I wasn't. And she says, hey, I want to move to Portland. And I go, yeah, no, I don't really want to do that. Our friends are here. My family's here. Why are we going to move to Portland? We don't know anybody there, and it's 6-7 hours away. And she goes, well, I want to move there, so I'm just going to take some time, and we're going to go on a break. I'd never successfully led a relationship before, so I had no idea how to move anything in a direction that was helpful for either of us, or how to lead a woman in a relationship. And I go, yeah, okay, let's take our break. And the most fucked up thing, Greg, is I'm like, great. Now I just have more time to just do whatever the fuck I want, which just goes to show you how immature I was at that age, right? 5 or 6 years ago. And this was the most pivotal moment of my life. I go into work the next day, working for this company, this recruiting agency out of Spokane called Aerotech. I'm working, 50, 55 hours a week, just cold calling people to hire for warehouse jobs at $7.25 per hour in Northern Idaho. So you can imagine that I'm not having very high quality conversations or a very rewarding job, because anybody that's going to work at that time, a lot of the people didn't want to work for $7.25 because the unemployment and the benefits for not working were higher than the cost of working. So I'm not having conversations with people that are very driven to go to work, right? And a lot of failed drug tests, a lot of just like, this is a hustle job with very minimal reward, and it's sucking the soul out of me. And I'm not focusing on this relationship the way that I should, and I just didn't care about anything. And I walk into work, and I sit down, and my shirt's all tight, guts all hanging out of my belt, can't breathe, just heartburn pouring out of my nose. I'm fucked up. I'm the most unhealthy looking person you've ever seen. And I'm looking around at all of these people that are a little older than me, that are just living miserable existences in this cubicle. And I'm sitting there, I log into my computer at 7:30, and I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. And I lay down on the floor. This is the moment that changed my entire life. Unbutton my shirt, sitting there, my boss comes up to me, he's like, what's going on? I'm full hyperventilating on the floor. I'm having a heart attack. And they're like, oh my God, did we call the ambulance? It was crazy, right? And you imagine this fat guy laying down like this with my arms out, with my shirt unbuttoned, with my gut all hanging out, horrible little mustache, and just my hair wasn't cut, just wasn't presentable in any way, and I didn't care. And I go to the doctor, right? I go, yeah, was there something wrong with my heart? Or turns out there was something wrong with my heart. This wasn't the thing that was wrong with my heart, but I was born with the heart issue that I got surgery to fix, but that wasn't what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And my doctor goes, well, Nick, my 300-pound doctor, I don't know what that says about the healthcare system, but I'm fat, going to see my fatter doctor than me, who's telling me that, well, Nick, you're really stressed out. It sounds like things aren't going well. And, are you anxious and depressed? And I go, maybe I am. Yeah, everything's going horrible and I hate everything. So yeah, maybe. Yeah. He goes, yeah, okay, well, let me put you on this medication. Right. And the medication is Xanax. So I go home, and he's like, the next time you feel anxious, just take one of these pills. See if it helps. I go, sure, great. I go home. How do you think I'm feeling? My girl that just kind of left, kind of is like, let me think about it, right? I don't even care. I feel bad, but I don't care. And that says more about where I was at than anything, right? I hate my job. I hate the city that I live in. I have no close friends, no direction. And I just feel like, what am I even living for? And how am I going to, for things to change, I'm going to have to conquer what I've never been willing to face, and that's how to actually achieve health and feel good in my own body. So it's just, there's so much to do that it's overwhelming. Of course I'm anxious. I don't have the tools to work through these things, and I've never talked to anybody about anxiety before. I didn't have the language to say that I'm anxious or depressed in that way, right? And I take a Xanax, and I'm laying down. I'm eating Rolos, little chocolate caramels. I'm eating Rolos, and I wake up the next morning with caramel smeared all over my stomach. And I'm like, hell of a drug, Xanax. Wake up the next day, I call into work for the first time in like a year. And I'm like, I'm feeling kind of anxious. Let me take another one of these pills. So I take another Xanax, and I just spent all day just zoned out, not feeling anything, feeling complete comfort in the emptiness. So what Xanax did for me, it didn't just kill the fact that I was anxious and depressed. It killed positive feeling too. It just killed feeling in general. So I'm just numb, sitting there, high out of my mind on these pills that are supposed to make me feel better about my job, about going to work and working aimlessly for $50K a year as a 23-year-old, right? And I wake up the next morning again, and I'm like, fuck this. Dumped the pills, went into work, left my job, found a job in Portland, of all places, moved to Portland, call my girlfriend on a break. I go, hey, I'm moving to Portland. She goes, that's great. So am I. We're going to figure it out, baby. Like, we got this, right? I'm like, I'm 23. I'm like, everything happens for a reason. Thank God all this happened, right? I move out to Portland, and by myself, I don't know anybody out there. And I see on Facebook that my girl is moving to Boise, Idaho. Doesn't tell me, just like posts about it on Facebook. That was so the pivotal moments for me were laying on the floor, gut out, prescribed Xanax, dump the Xanax, fuck this, I'm going to handle my problems and I'm going to get in shape. Moved to Portland with the intention of getting in shape, starting a new career, bettering my relationship. Like, this is the right spot, right?
Yeah.
Clearly that's not how it was supposed to work out. Thank God it didn't. My girl moves, I don't see her. I go into 6 months of isolation as a 24-year-old. Intentional isolation. I've got 4 or 5 roommates and I'm working in an office environment, but I'm not talking to anybody. I'm high and by to my roommates. I'm high and by to my coworkers. I'm completely dialed into, for me to get to the point where I'm going to find a partner that I want to have kids with, that wants to have kids with me, that is going to trust me, that I'm going to trust. For me to be the dad that I've never had, I have to be alone. I don't want any input from anybody. I don't want social media. I don't want to be watching movies or Netflix or none of that shit. I want to be with my own mind and my own darkness and deal with it as a man. And I'm sitting down. I lost 75 pounds in 6 months. And part of the reason why I've blown up on social media so much recently is I have a video of myself going, I'm fat as fuck. In 6 months, I'm going to lose 75 pounds. And then I flash to how I am now. So you can really see the story and the content that I'm posting, right? And I go into 6 months of complete isolation. And all that I'm doing is walking. All that I'm doing is walking. I'm thinking, I'm fucked up. These pills made me not feel anything. Maybe I get back on Xanax, right? I'm like, you can't go that direction, man. Just commit to something for 6 months. I heard some YouTube video of some like motivational speaker saying, commit to something for 6 months and see what happens. I'm like, I'm going to commit to losing weight in a way that I never have. And I lost 76 pounds in 6 months. So I beat my weight loss goal by 1 pound. And that's where we go back into. I started gaining weight back, listened to David Goggins, came out of isolation, and was like, shit, man, better get my life together. Started running.
Dang.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Were you taking a lot of the Xanax in one day?
Yeah, no, I did. I took Xanax for 1.5 days total.
For what?
Yeah. No, I quit after day 2. Yeah, absolutely not. That is not a... I know myself very well. Yeah. And even then I knew myself, and I knew that I was a loser. I wasn't some guy that was like, well, I'm fine. I knew that shit was fucked up. And I know that I have an addictive personality. I channel my addictive personality to positive things now, but I'm not going to start playing video games ever again. I'm never going to start getting... if I got a surgery, I would never get on a painkiller ever. I just know that I like things that feel really good. I know that about myself. I'm not going that direction with anything. So no Xanax or any of that kind of shit. What Xanax does for me, we're so quick to jump on taking pills to solve our problems. And what Xanax does for me, there's a whole future where I just never stop taking Xanax. Where the fuck would I be if I never stopped taking Xanax? I'm not saying that if you're taking a pill, just stop taking the pills. Like, consult with someone. But recognize the fact that you might not be sad because of the things that are happening. For me, it was, my doctor told me that I was fat because I was depressed. He goes, well, you're fat because you're depressed and because you're anxious. And it was actually the reverse of that. I was actually anxious and depressed because I was so fucking fat. And I was anxious and depressed because I was doing the wrong things. And through doing the right things, I cured my own depression. And I cured my own anxiety. And maybe that's not the case for everybody, but that was absolutely the case for me. And that is absolutely the case for more people than are willing to admit. And we're quick to hide behind these pills. I felt those pills for a day, and I felt the pull towards it. I get it. I don't blame anyone that's taking pills for depression or anxiety. But there is a world where you get control of your life and you get your things in order and get yourself off of the things that you're taking. Because they kill the good feeling too.
Yeah, they do.
They kill the good feeling.
Yeah, it's crazy how much the numbers of people taking pills in America, or how many kids are prescribed drugs at such a young age. It's baffling.
Baffling.
But here's the other part to all of that. Information is getting out to people way faster than it used to.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going a little bit too heavy right now, simply because it's all new to us as a civilization? Or are we at a good spot right now? Tough to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tough to say. There's definitely some brokenness, though, in the system.
Absolutely.
Like, we had a gentleman on the other day who was prescribed about 9 different drugs at once. He was taking 9 different prescription drugs. And they were all prescribed by his one doctor. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, he was like 18 years old. It's crazy. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about to launch this rocket, so to speak. Where are you going with all this? You know, what's the big picture here in Nick Jopo's life?
The big picture here is continuing to put myself in a position to be great husband, great father, and have a lot of positive influence on people that are dealing with the things that I've dealt with. So short term, it's continuing to grow on social media, continuing to push content that I needed for myself. So when I'm making content, when I'm making short form reels or long form podcasts every week, I am closing my eyes. I'm not on video on my podcast, but I'm doing my podcast with my eyes completely closed and talking to myself 5 years ago.
Yeah.
People think that I'm advising them. I'm advising myself 5 years ago. I'm not into this podcast going, how can I help people? Though I love that is a result of what I'm doing. I'm closing my eyes going, how could I have helped myself? What if I was my own father 5 years ago? What would I have been telling to myself? And through that, I'm manifesting being a father. I'm practicing being a father in doing that. And I'm also healing my own trauma in doing so. Right. So right now it's continuing to have good direction with content, and it's continuing to just founded my own LLC, Jopo Brands LLC, last week. So officially a business owner, and we're moving this into a couple different revenue streams. So I'm taking my addiction that has been running and has since been gone and putting that into how can I continue to provide as much positive service for people as possible and also be rewarded for that financially, and take that financial reward and put it back out into the world to help more people and to help myself and to help my future family and my wife. So that's the way that I'm thinking right now. So a lot of strategizing going on right now. In the short term is going to be executing on masterclasses and coaching services online for people to have better relationships with food and for people to have better relationships with their own bodies.
Yeah. Is it any person? Is it specified towards any particular subcategory of people, or is it all people?
It's really all people, but what I specialize in and what I'm the most interested in when it comes to what I've learned from my own story is how to conquer food addiction. Things like emotional and binge eating. Things like how to take small steps in the right direction over time instead of trying to go on some bullshit diet like keto that's all or nothing. So the people that I'm the most interested in working with are the people that have tried a lot of diets and have fluctuated weight in their lifetime the most. Those are the people that resonate the most with my story.
Wow.
You know the data on people that lose weight and keep it off? So this is the data that changed my life. 1 in 666 obese people, which isn't a great number, but 1 in 666 obese people will ever go from obese to not obese from a body fat percentage standpoint and keep the weight off for more than 5 years.
Bro.
1 in 666. We all know people that have lost weight. Like you know 10 people that have lost a lot of weight, right? You see it online all the time.
Family members.
If you
lost a lot of weight,
they gain it back. They gain it back. How many do you know that have lost weight and kept it off for 5 years or more? Right? Not 6 months, like 5 years or more. You go straight to people that we've seen online because those people blow up because it just doesn't happen that often. And the reason it doesn't happen is because we're all living for these short-term goals of like, how can I lose weight as fast as possible? Because you get off on the idea of the short-term self-improvement. The people that I want to work with are the people that have already done that and then gained the weight back and realized, shit, I have the wrong mindset. Because losing weight and keeping weight off are not the same. Who the fuck you really are is what you do the day after you hit your weight loss goal. That's who you really are. If you're fat right now listening to this podcast and you've lost a lot of weight, what did you do the day after you hit your goal? Did you maintain any of the habits that you had built? Were any of those habits even sustainable for where you were at, or were you doing too much? Those are the people that my message really resonates with and that I'm the most interested in working with.
Wow. That's powerful. It's good work. Really good work. Let's say you're going to run into your childhood self. He's 5 years old. He's in that really rough household. What would you say to him if you could talk to him today?
I actually did this for the first time ever about a month ago. And I really went there, and I was guided through a practice of remembering just what household was like. Not a specific thing, but remembering what my life was like when I was 13 or 14 years old. And this is something that my partner actually walked me through. And she does a lot of work in this space. And I went back, really got into the headspace of what my life was like, what my day-to-day was like, and just remembering what I felt. It's easier to remember how you feel versus things that actually happened for me. And I went back, and the craziest thing we lived in this house where everyone in my family thought that there was a ghost in the house because we were renting this house that this guy died that lived in the house. He died before we moved in. So we moved into a house that a guy died in like months previous, right? And everyone's like, there's a ghost, there's a ghost. I went back to that house in my mind, and I remember weird shit around the house. Like I wouldn't have always believed in this kind of stuff, and I think it sounds a little woo-woo and kind of hippie to get all spiritual on these sorts of things, but this is really what I experienced. I remember specific memories where like the door handle would rattle, and we'd think like, oh, there's someone outside of the house trying to scare us, and then we'd be like, or is it a ghost? Is it the ghost of the guy that died? Like I remember thinking that, right? I went back and talked to my old self as a 29-year-old. I did this 1 or 2 months ago, and I really painted the picture of what did the room look like? What did the house look like? I'm floating as a presence of my 29-year-old up in the corner with a wide lens view of me sitting on the couch. What am I saying to myself? And I told myself that everything was okay. I told myself that you don't need to do anything. Everything's going to be okay. Your family's going to be okay. The future's going to be okay. You want to know the craziest fucking thing? It was like a scene out of Interstellar. You see the scene in Interstellar where he pushes the book and he's like communicating with his daughter?
Yeah.
It felt like that. And I felt like I was the ghost in the house. And I didn't actually say anything. I heard what I was saying. It blew my fucking mind. It blew my mind, and it reoriented my entire... People say that time is linear. It's one thing to say that, right? We say, time is linear. Like all things are happening right now. And it's like, okay, that kind of sounds like a movie plot in Hollywood. That was the first time I felt it. I really felt that actually happened. I was there. I went there and was actually there, and I heard it. I didn't intentionally speak anything, but I heard what I was saying. It really reoriented how I feel about time.
Dude, that's
It makes the hair on my arm stand up talking about that experience.
Yeah.
Totally sober experience. No drugs or psychedelics to get into that kind of state.
Yeah. And your girlfriend helped you with that.
She's wonderful. You'll have to meet her. You'll love her.
What portal did that fairy pop out of anyways?
What?
She sounds wonderful.
She was wonderful.
She had a wonderful impact on your life.
A wonderful impact. She just protects my spirit in such a wonderful way.
It's cool. So let's wrap it up with a couple more questions I like to ask. Who's one person that you like, that you want to chat with, that's alive, that you haven't had a chance to talk to yet?
Oh, David Goggins. I without a doubt will sit down with David Goggins one day.
Savior Goggins.
Yeah,
I saw a video of him this morning.
Yeah.
I forgot, maybe on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor had a needle going right here above his knee and sucking a huge tube with this brown, clear liquid out of his knee.
Yeah. He's a hard man. I just want to thank him more than anything. And
where does he live?
I think he's in Vegas. I don't know for sure.
We got to figure out where he lives.
We got to figure it out. But what I want to thank him for is he's the only person that I've ever really heard that was teaching mindset. He's not out here saying run miles to lose weight. He's out here saying, here's the mindset to have to run miles, to lose weight, to believe in yourself. And when you believe, like the only difference between the people that actually make anything happen and the people that aren't are the people that truly believe in themselves.
Yeah.
He talks so much about looking in the mirror and having conversations with himself in the mirror. I do that every fucking day. I turn on motivational music and look at myself in the mirror and go, you can fucking do it, man. Here's what's going, and I record it. And then I go back and listen to myself talking. Those are all things that I learned from David Goggins that have changed my life. 5 years later, I'm still doing all the same shit. And I'm moving in such a positive direction that things are just exponentially taking off every day. And I owe so much of that to how willing he was to tell his story. And it's inspired me to come out and tell my story about things that are just, they're hard to talk about, man. It's hard to talk about that I was an anxious kid that would rip scabs off my hand until they would bleed and my teachers would be concerned. It's hard to sit here and talk about the fact that I grew up with an abusive father who wasn't in my life. And it's hard to show pictures and videos of how fucking fat I was to people online and to tell people and have them think, I wonder if he's ever going to gain the weight back. I hate that shit. I hate that shit, but I do it. And I feel that it's my calling to do it. And so much that I've learned from David Goggins is about putting as much distance between who you want to be and who you were in the past as possible. And I've just implemented that in every area of my life by coming on this podcast. Imagine if I ever went back to being fat and recorded this podcast, how ridiculous that would be, right? I got the number 274 tattooed on my arm. Right there. It's built into my arm sleeve. Imagine if I ever went back to 274 pounds with a 274 tattoo on my arm. It would never happen. It's impossible. I can never go back. I've put too much distance between myself. And these are things that I learned by listening to other people and by seeing what other people that have been successful have done. And I just want to sit down and thank him. That's a short conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, he's impacted a lot of people's lives. He really sets the precedence in so many ways.
Absolutely.
He's a freaking hard dog, dude.
Hard dog, man.
Stay hard. And then last question I want to ask you today is, let's say it's 300 years from now, and your great-great-great-grandkids are watching this, and you want to send them a message, not just them, but also the world. What would you tell them?
My message to the world would be to tell the truth. Tell the truth always. I want to be remembered. I want my legacy to be that I always told the truth. I don't want to be the weight loss guy. I want to be the guy that was, by telling the truth to yourself and other people, you can accomplish anything. And you can develop self-trust and self-belief, and you can do anything. That's what I want my legacy to be. That's what I want my message to my future kids and my future grandkids to be. Tell the truth always, or at least don't lie to people. Don't lie to people, and don't lie to yourself. If you're fat, own it. I'm fat. I'm fat, man. I am a fat fuck. That's all my content is. I'm a fat fuck. I was a fat fuck. And I own that. And I owned that and kept the weight off. That's what I want my message to be. Tell the truth. Be honest with yourself.
How do people get a hold of you, Nick?
Yeah, reach me on Instagram, Nick, GEOPPO. And all the links are right on there. Great. We've got a great podcast right now where we break things down week by week that's geared really towards weight loss and relationship with food and mindset. It's called the Lose It podcast, Lose It, Weight Loss, Wellness, Wisdom. And we just talk really about mindset. What is the mindset that you have to adopt to sustainably achieve everything, specifically weight loss and healthy relationship with food and exercise?
It's awesome. Dude, you're definitely the ideal candidate for this podcast. You've conveyed your story quite well in a very picturesque fashion. I think everybody can identify with bits and pieces of what you've gone through, and it's extremely helpful. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to help people, right? To empower people through storytelling, to also show people that people change if they so desire. You've changed, and you're changing constantly. And you're getting momentum. Lots of momentum. And remember this, if you're a fat fuck, own it, and say you're a fat fuck. In the words of Nick Giopo. Guys, thanks so much for listening today. Greg Carlson, Pivotal Moments Podcast, Nick Giopo. Till next time, stay fired up.
That's great.